Right. Discipline is not same as punishment. It just feels like that, but ideally it needs to be seen in a positive way, as in encouraging the right behavior. In here, we can see three types of discipline: positive, negative, and self-discipline. What is positive discipline? Procedure, system, and equipment that ensure that employees act in the desired manner, such as shutting down the machine, like when you finish the shift, control of company's credit card, do not overspend, and restricting access to internet site. Another way is sanction against undesirable action, either punitive, which is like punish for an offense, and then deterrent, such as warning to others. It can be more severe too, such as like giving a verbal warning for doing a wrong thing in the workplace. And the other is reformative, like draws attention to the nature of the office, like cleaning up the desk and working area. These are the things like in a negative way. Then what is self-discipline? Acceptance of the idea of workplace responsibilities by staff. Right. Behaviors requiring disciplines. Any issue that affect on the job performance falls within the remit of a manager, even if the problem itself is not occurring during the work time, such as drinking, drug abuse, etc. For example, excessive absenteeism. No matter how good the reason, if you repeatedly not coming to the work, that's an issue that needs to be monitored or needs to be dealt with. Like I remember when I used to work as an retail supervisor and manager, we used to do timekeeping review, attendance review for the staff for every 3 months, and then we used to look into if they are achieving the certain percentage. If they are below the above the percentage in terms of timekeeping and attendance, then we had to take it to the next stage. So investigating that, and these are very important to maintain a discipline in the workplace. Then poor attitude, such as not bothering, not listening to the people, not respecting other, and improper appearance and conduct, and breaking safety rule, for example, using a chemical which is not approved by the organization, and bringing that chemical in the premises would be breaking the safety rules, and putting a chair on the shop floor which is broken is a breaking the safety rule. Violation of other rules and regulations, such as bullying other people and not using the machinery in proper way. So these all are important. Also, there are some semi-structured work activities such as work night out. The remit of the manager here would largely depend on how organized the event was, how exclusive the invite is, was it only workplace, and what actually happened. So the manager can look into this uh, behavior requiring discipline to ensure that organization operate properly. ACAS Code of Practice. ACAS is the advisory, conciliation, and arbitration service, is a crown non-departmental public body of the government of the United Kingdom. Its purpose is to improve the organizations and working life through the promotion and facilitation of a strong industrial relations practice. Therefore, we can say that it is most obvious connected with industrial dispute resolution. There are 14 aspects in total. The first bullet, which is formal and professional conduct procedure, cover 4 separate areas. In writing, address correctly, non-discriminatory, and without delays. Any issues needs to be dealt with confidentiality. Staff needs to be informed about the possible disciplinary outcome. The management has to have the appropriate authority to deal with the disciplinary, and staff to receive the relevant evidence before any hearing. So they need to know why they will be investigated, why they are in disciplinary procedure. Staff to be able to state their case before any decision, so they can present their argument in the disciplinary procedure, um, and right to accompany to the hearing, so they can take somebody with them during the disciplinary procedure, and staff not dismissed for the first breach except gross misconduct. Every company has their own gross misconduct list, so such as stealing money, or say for example, in some businesses I saw that when people take holidays and then afterwards when they make sick call, they count it as a gross misconduct. So for this type of except those type of breaching, the staff should not be dismissed for the first breach. Action not taken without careful investigation needs to be thoroughly done, and staff provide with an explanation for any penalty. So they need to be explained properly why they will be charged or they will be dismissed from the organization. Clarity over right of appeal and the procedure for it, so they need to be informed how they will appeal the outcome, and what's the procedure to do it, and how long time they will have to do it. Furthermore, it is worth mentioning that statutory minimum is defined by Employment Act 2010, which states that written notification for action being taken and why, which we just said earlier, and inviting them to a meeting. So you cannot make a decision uh, without calling your staff to before making a decision. At the meeting, the manager must explain the problem and allow the employee to respond as well. The manager must then explain any decision reached and detail the right to appeal. There should be a formal appeal process. Sixth stage of disciplinary process. SEMA has the sixth stage process. The first stage is informal talk or oral warning. In that case, if the manager sees that employee breaches any policy of the organization, they might speak to the employee informally and provide a oral or verbal warning. Manager often keep a record of this in the company portal or in a file. What is formal warning? Formal warning, either oral or in writing. Manager keep a record of this and it expires over time. Say for example, if your timekeeping is not good and you always late at work, the manager might give you 3 months to improve your timekeeping. Um, if you improve your timekeeping within 3 months, then you are fine. The warning will be withdrawn. On the other hand, if you cannot improve your timekeeping, you might receive a final warning or final written warning. And third stage is the final written warning is the last chance to improve before sanction imposed. The last three stages are suspension without pay, demotion, and dismissal. These all are sanctions and won't necessarily follow on from each other. Suspension without pay needs to be identified in a contract of employment to be valid. It may be the first point on the scale where an employee takes notice. Demotion is widely seen as a poor disciplinary sanction. So say for example you are assistant manager and you cannot uh, doing your job properly, and the manager decided that uh, mm, to 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 demote your position, maybe to make you a team member. uh, but it has a big impact on motivation and morale, and then a knock-on impact on everyone else in the firm. Dismissal is lengthy and costly due to need to get it right and avoid being sued. Even for a staff with limited statutory protection, like if you work less than 24 months in post, uh, additional recruitment and training costs are then incurred, and the impact on other in the team can be negative as well. So there are some critical people management aspect to these, and these are immediacy. Action must follow quickly after the offense, and giving advance warning. The process must be clearly available and known. For example, staff need to be trained about the company policy, and it needs to be mentioned clearly in their handbook, and maybe on the company portal. Uh, then consistency must apply to everyone equally. So say if somebody is your friend, you cannot treat them differently than others employee. Then impersonality. This is never about personalities. It is about acts, but very hard to maintain that distinction. Then privacy should be done privately. So you need to keep confidentiality and keep it private. And it might be more tricky if the offense is in public, but is it still possible to keep the confidentiality? Grievance process. What is grievance? Grievance is when an employee feels wronged, that is, wrongly or unfairly treated by a colleague or supervisor. Grievance is therefore when an employee feels badly treated. And on the other hand, discipline is when an employer thinks an employee has done something wrong. In other words, grievance, a procedure for employees, and discipline, a procedure for employers. Therefore, we can say that grievance procedures are put in place to protect employees and ensure due process is followed. Procedures should include a statement of associated right for the employees, what document they can see, meeting to attend, uh, involvement of a trade union representative, timely meeting for initiating procedure, writing record of all meeting. The purpose of the procedure is to protect employees from victimization, but ensure that process used comply with law. It also encourage the airing of grievances, which can be helpful in terms of clearing the air, monitoring the impact of manager. The statutory process minimum requirement of doing grievance must be stated in writing. First interview with either manager or his or her manager, and second interview is a referral further upgrade, maybe an area manager. Grievance process. Psychological contract are a way of describing how an employee and employer feel about each other. Coercive, reluctant acceptance by employee. Calculative. A calculative contract is accepted voluntarily by an employee, but any change in required performance require an improvement to terms and conditions, such as paying more money or salary, a bonus, and more time off. Cooperative contract is where an employee is willing to work hard for an employer and has some values in common with organization. The flip side is the need to control over the work environment and decision making. Calculative and cooperative contracts work Well, when both parties see them in the same way. When these fall down, grievances tend to occur, and most often overpay or pay increases. Therefore, it is possible to see grievance at one end of a scale of commitment to a firm. So, lack of grievance, loss of commitment. Contract termination. Termination can occur through retirement, resignation, and redundancy. Compulsory retirement age still exists, but require clear justification, and it can vary industry to industry. ACAS describes it as employers cannot force employee to retire or set a retirement age unless it can be objectively justified as what the law terms a proportionate means of achieving a legitimate aim. In practice, many people retire when it becomes affordable to do so, and a lot of firms offer early retirement packages such as extra payment to make that choice easier. Companies may do this because balance the age structure of an organization and allows promotion opportunities to younger staff. Resignation happens for a lot of reasons, sometimes personal. A company should try and keep hold of valuable staff if possible. In any case, exit interviews are a good source of information on what people have felt about a firm and what, if anything, might have persuaded them. Redundancy. Redundancy must be on the basis of businesses and role no longer being required. Say Boots closing down their 10 stores, they decided to put those 10 store manager on redundancy. Uh, there is a legal entitlement to compensation in case of voluntary severance. That minimum level is often surpassed. Let's now look into dismissal. There are three types of dismissal recognized in law. These are termination of a contract, ending of a fixed term contract like Christmas recruitment, and resignation by employee. Termination of contract by employers. Say when employee dismissed from the organization due to not following the company policy and procedure. And other ways, ending of fixed term contract without renewal. Either could also constitute wrongful or unfair dismissal if not done correctly. Employer must have a sound reason for not renewing a fixed term contract, such as conduct or capability, redundancy of position, and some other substantial reason. For example, employee returning from maternity. Wrongful dismissal breaches the terms of contract with an employee, where employer breaches other terms in the contract. This could be form of constructive dismissal, either relate to the term of the contract between the employer and employee. Note that fixed term contract not renewed constitute a form of dismissal. A employer must have ground for doing so. Other way is resignation by employee, where employer has breached contract and constructive dismissal or wrongful dismissal is proven. Unfair dismissal. Onus is on employers to prove it was fair. Redundancy of role, providing selection was fair. Legal impediment, no capability but need to show correct procedure followed. Misconduct. Other substantial reasons. And the dismissal will be automatically unfair if unfair selection of candidates for redundancy due to membership or involvement in a trade union, due to pregnancy, If employee asks for documented pay slips and particulars, and health and safety role. If unfair dismissal is proven, option includes reinstatement, old role, re-engagement in a different role, say for example, and compensation, probably the happiest outcome,